Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Worn and Wound podcast. My name is Zach Kazan. I'm the managing editor at Worn and Wound. We've got a full house today for episode 400 of the Worn and Wound podcast. Congrats, guys. We did it. 400 episodes.
Woo.
Yeah. That was very, very convincing. We have we're about due for a Q&A episode anyway, but we thought since it was 400 for the 400th episode, we'd get the community involved and field some questions from our Instagram followers and members of our Slack community, Worn and Wound Plus community. So yeah, today's going to be a Q&A episode. We'll get to all that shortly, but before that, of course, we do wrist checks. I'm joined today. We've, like I said, full house. We'll start with Devin Pennypacker holding it down from the studio in Brooklyn. Devin, your name in Riverside just says Worn and Wound, so you're like fully representing the company here on the 400th podcast. How's that
I'm
feel?
proud to carry the flag. It feels there's a lot of pressure, I'll be honest, but I think I'm ready for it.
Yeah. What are you wearing? What's on
right. Yeah, that's right. We're on wrist checks.
You're not ready at all.
I am currently wearing that Hamilton Pilot Aviation that I've been wearing with the aluminum case, along with my submersible wrist compass, strap compass, because I was off the grid a bit this weekend, and I thought if there was ever a chance for me to use my wrist compass, it was that weekend. I did not use it, but I was really excited to have it.
You were off the grid in Maine.
Yes, fully off the grid. Actually, I ended up on an island that was not connected to the grid, so very, very off the grid.
Cool.
Excellent. Looking forward to hearing about that. We have to chat about your Maine experience. I want to hear all about the lobster roll intake, which I'm hoping there was
blueberry
plenty
pie.
of. Yeah,
a lot of lobster, and a big blueberry pie. Yes.
Yeah.
We're also joined by Kat Shoulders, fresh off vacation. Kat, how's it going?
Yeah, good. I just got back from Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic, which was a lot of fun, and we stayed at an all-inclusive, so just food and drinks on the beach all day, every day, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that doesn't sound bad at all.
No, not at all. But I'm getting back into the thick of things today, and I'm excited to record this podcast and to see you guys after being gone for a week. So
yeah, no, excellent. It's good to see you as well. What are you wearing?
On the wrist, I'm wearing my Tudor FXD today, the blue version, and I wore the Formex as I was on vacation. That's the only watch I wore. So since getting back over the weekend, I've just been wearing all my other stuff. I kind of itched to wear all my other watches, so I stuck this on today.
Yeah, to give the rest of the collection a little attention. I think we've all been there. Also joined today by Worn and Wound co-founder and probably the person who's appeared on more of these podcasts than anyone else.
It was probably on episode 1.
I was going to say, I think I've been on a book on this at least.
You've done a few of these.
I've done a few.
Zach Weiss, what are you wearing today?
Today I have on the Chrono Swiss Kairos from the 90s.
Excellent.
Very cool.
I'm wearing the Fears Brunswick Mother of Pearl, the Fears Brunswick Aurora Mother of Pearl style today. Which I actually hadn't. I don't think I've worn this since my review of this went live a few weeks ago. I will link to that in the show notes. Kat, you took some excellent photos of this watch.
Oh my god, it was so much fun to shoot.
Yeah.
Every angle looked slightly different.
Yeah, really that's the cool thing about this dial is it really never looks the same from photo to photo. It's like having an infinite number of watches in one watch.
I have to give a quick shout out because as we are celebrating the 400th episode of the podcast, Zach, I just saw you celebrated 14 years at Worn and Wound. Which probably started a little bit before the maybe the official start date. I'm sure you guys are brainstorming and doing stuff, but congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always weird when that anniversary happens because it's like my pet's birthday. I don't really know when it is, kind of a thing, And I've been doing this for 14 years all year. Because I guess, that's sort of true, right? It's like your birthday's at the end of the year. So it's been but yeah, no, it was nice. A lot of people said congrats and things like that.
Yeah.
So That was nice. I guess that's the one thing I can use LinkedIn for.
Just tracking how long Warner Mount has existed.
How long you've worked.
Tracking how long it's existed. But I think, though we were probably like thinking of names and stuff, we probably put that up right around when we published the first articles.
I'm kind of curious.
So, yeah.
Speaking of name, did you have anything else in mind? Do you remember for Worn and Wound?
God.
That would be kind of interesting to hear.
I mean, we had a whole spreadsheet, but I don't remember.
Yeah. We'll have to
Blake
try to find that one day.
He could still have the spreadsheet somewhere, knowing him. But we were really like nothing was clicking at all. And then Worn and Wound was just sort of put out into the world somehow.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know what? It's the best we're going to do.
I think it all worked out.
Yeah, no, all worked out for the best. It's a good name, distinctive.
Thank you.
I would be curious to go back and like just find like the first article chronologically, and just maybe I'll link that in the show notes. Just find the first
It
article.
might be an article I wrote about Braun watches. And
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It might be. Yeah.
Wow.
It's gonna be terrible. Don't read it.
Do you happen to recall what the first podcast you recorded was about, or what the topic was?
I don't. I mean, I'm sure it's just me, Blake, and Ilya just talking
tell
at the
you.
time.
I have it pulled up
Yeah.
right here.
Oh,
Let's
wow.
Announcing the launch of the Worn and Wound podcast. It
Yeah.
is
Original.
your 2017 Basel World, I guess, day one impressions.
oh.
Or a preview, sorry, with
Preview.
some very old photos of Bremont watches.
Mm.
Excellent. Wow,
Yeah.
really
Full
come full circle with the
Yeah.
Bremont coverage at
Yeah.
Swiss Watch Fairs. That's yeah, no. Well, I think it's sometimes it's fun to do some digging in the archives and just kind of like see how far the website's come and how far like the like the photography and the production values of
Yeah.
everything is has come over time. But yeah,
Certainly.
400 episodes of this thing. That's crazy. I don't even want to. I mean, can you imagine like starting from the beginning and just like binging every episode? You'd really get quite a
Oh,
crash
God.
course in watches and our
Yeah.
personalities and through the years. It's really, really wild. Don't do that if you haven't listened from the beginning. I don't advise that starting from scratch. All right. Let's get going with the questions. I know we've got a bunch. Devin, you've been kind of collecting them. Let's get it rolling. What do you got first?
Yeah, so I put out the Q&A question to our audience on Instagram and our Slack Plus community, which if you're not a member of, it is free. Please join it and come hang out with us all the time. But thank you to everyone who submitted questions, even though it was a long holiday weekend. Let's start with a bit of a retrospective one here. What is one watch design thing you miss from episode 1 era and one you like about watches now?
A watch design. So like
So 2017.
2017 era, yeah.
Hmm.
What's one thing that you miss from back then?
Wow.
That's tough. I mean, one thing I miss from back then is that like it seems like that was like the early days or like earlier days of like watches on social media. Like this isn't a watch design thing, but like the whole community was just like very different, and it wasn't so. I feel like now there's nothing against influencers, but it just feels like everyone is just like kind of shilling something constantly on Instagram, and people have to find ways to kind of like sustain themselves here. But like before that was common, the tenor of things in the watch space was just like very, very different. And like 2016, 2017 is kind of like like a prime time for that in my recollection.
I agree.
Anyway.
I feel like it was more positive in a way. Like I mean, there were some things. I was part of the forums early on, like that could get a little out there sometimes, but I feel like Instagram was just like a really happy place, and like the community like was just so nice, and engagement was also really good. Like I mean, I remember growing and starting like a watch Instagram page and having 0 followers, and then I mean, in a matter of a few months, I was like 5,000 followers, and my posts were getting thousands of comments, and you were just talking to so many people, and I met so many people at that time that I'm still friends with today. And I feel like now the engagement is just terrible, and I'm not on Instagram for that, and that's fine. I like to still post photos whether people look at them or not, but even if there is engagement, it's just like a thumbs up, or there's not a lot of like back and forth, I feel like, as much now.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it was like a more like positive place in a way at the time.
Unless,
And now
I
it's
mean, you
pretty
weren't being
divisive.
strangled by the algorithm and the program
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
I find that's the
Yeah.
most frustrating thing. Like, if you were to play into maybe the Watch World algorithm, it's like, okay, post a Rolex, post a Patek, post an AP, you're going to get likes, right?
Mhm.
Not anymore. That used to be the case. Like, you throw up a vintage Rolex, you know what, you'll have a good day.
Yeah.
It's just, there's like nothing to it. And you look and, your post got viewed by 150 people.
Yeah.
Period
Yeah.
of your several thousand followers, and it's just like,
Yeah.
sorry, Instagram, I'm not boosting my post
Yeah,
for
exactly.
likes. Like, no.
I don't have a specific watch, but I will say that when I first got into the hobby, Tudor hadn't really had its resurgence. There was the Black Bay, it was like the original heritage, but it really wasn't like the Tudor it is today with so many different models and everyone has a Tudor. And like, because of that, and this is no shade on Tudor because I'm wearing one and I love them, but people wore different stuff. Like there was a lot of
Mhm.
different brands, and I feel like now it's a lot of the same, at least what I see on Instagram. And a lot of these brands have like really core followings, which is great. But I think like people wore like little more quirky and funky watches at the time, and I know I certainly had a lot of weird stuff in my collection early on too. That's a little bit different than now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go digging for the
Mhm.
for the quirky stuff.
Yeah.
Which
Might
I
be
think-
challenging. Also, just like as our like collections move up market, you literally like, not that everyone's has, but I think maybe
Yeah.
some of us, Kat, I moved over. Then you have less watches because of it. So it's
Yeah.
like, if you put that out to a lot of people, so it kind of can feel that way.
That's true.
At least I feel that way. Maybe sometimes when I'm posting myself, I'm like, I posted this watch too many times. It's boring. But
Yeah.
one thing I would say, like, oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say I do the same. Like sometimes I look at my grid and it's like the same watches like over and over again. But that's normal as you point out.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I think you had an actual answer maybe to the,
Well, once again, I don't. It's hard to like remember back and think of what was actually happening in 2017. But like, I still remember at that time things feeling new, which they don't anymore, really.
Mhm.
And like, that might be like a 38 millimeter diver felt new and felt novel because it was just something that wasn't done, or a salmon dial. And now it's like we've seen it all, and the real new innovative things are fewer and far between. That doesn't mean there aren't a lot of nice watches that come out that are like we all adore, but it's just like not surprised as much.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Well, you could say that you missed Basel World. That's
Do I?
something from 2017. Well, I don't know about that. 2017 was the release of the Black Bay Chrono too, Kat. So it was an interesting year for Tudor.
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of do miss Basel. I won't lie, a little bit. Watches and Wonders, it's all right, but Basel had a grittiness to it.
Yeah.
You
You had to be there.
had to be. It was nuts. It was really nuts when you think about it. Like the first year we went, when it was like really, they just reopened the building, which is, I believe, was redesigned by Herzog and de Meuron, and like beautiful structure. And they had a Lana Del Rey concert like out in front of it the day before, which like we had no idea was happening. We're just like standing there, like literally holding like sausage, like bratwurst that were like $15 pop, being like, is that a Lana Del Rey playing for a bunch of like Swiss guys in suits? This is really weird. And it was.
Wow. That's cool.
But yeah, you'd go in and like, there was the first thing you'd see, you go through these little gates, and the first thing you'd see was a row of 6-something foot tall models, like human models, handing out little newspapers and things. And it was such a strange event. It really had the kind of like the end tail of the kind of old and gross opulence that, is not there anymore. That was around when brands were getting in trouble for having like parties at Playboy clubs and things like that. Yeah. Still, a few brands in particular would get slapped on the wrist a couple times, but like it was just so different and so extravagant, and every year it got noticeably worse. Like halls were closing, dark room, like it just was strange. It was very strange. Yeah,
interesting.
But it felt, I don't know, it felt more exciting somehow.
Yeah,
we can probably bring the models to Wind Up. Have them handing out newspapers as people enter Wind Up. I think that's a solid idea. We should. We should.
No, it was great. They would print like a summary or something of like Basel every day. It was like the Basel News. It's very
Wow.
weird,
Wow.
All right, Devin.
All right.
What's next?
Yeah, all right. Sean asked us, what have we learned over all of those episodes that make for better and better podcasts?
That's an interesting question. So I think the thing that like makes for a good podcast is just like the banter between people on the podcast. I think like I don't know, like the four of us, like we like at this point kind of like know each other like pretty well, and I think the banter is pretty good. And there's like it's just like a good conversation. It's sometimes harder, I think, to have a compelling podcast with people that you don't know. That's something like I'm not a great interviewer, and so sometimes like when we have an interview with someone, it's I sometimes listen back to those episodes and I think like it's clear that like we don't. This person hasn't like logged many hours, in the Riverside studio, with us. So that's just something that I've kind of like, gotten real clear on over the years is that like the better you know someone and the more you kind of speak with them, I think the better the conversation will be, which is maybe sounds like kind of an obvious thing, but I think it really becomes clear over time.
Yeah, it's a good answer. I'd agree. I think it's the relationship we all have, and I think the authenticity of our conversations too. And I think they're pretty genuine in nature, and we know where to push each other's buttons. I think where not to.
Like bits develop over time, like cat being a flipper, and like things like
sure,
like
it's like all the things.
It's all part of the fabric of
it's fun.
It's
totally fun. And I think like when I listen the podcast that I listen to, it's not always the subject, it's the people that are talking and kind of the stories that they tell, more than anything. But yeah, I'm interested maybe Zach to hear your thoughts.
I don't know, I just show up.
You're just like, I'm here.
Yeah, I get a little invite on my calendar, I appear. I think it's just like comfort level.
Yeah.
I mean, with everything we do, I think its comfort level has increased over the years, whether it's this or videos or panels and all that kind of stuff that like used to be honestly quite terrifying to do a long time ago. And now, I mean, a certain I don't know, give less of a shitness perhaps of like, but not like in the quality. It's just like in the like we're gonna say what we're gonna say, and it's like I don't have to like watch every word, and
and
like
it's gonna be
it's
okay.
more authentic.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think any of us here can at drop of a moment's notice be like, oh yeah, we can record a podcast like anytime within at any place. And
that's how most of them actually like end up being recorded. It's like, oh, we gotta record
shoot, we
something.
have to record.
Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday.
But I think early days, maybe not when I started here, but being on a podcast was very daunting and scary, and not so much anymore. And it's fun, and I kind of forget how many people listen, and I'm reminded when we're at our fairs and so many people stop, and it still means a lot. And if you ever stop me and say I love hearing that you're a listener of the podcast and reader of Worn and Wound, it always means a lot. But it gets lost on me how many people actually do listen every week. So thank you to those that tune in.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I guess looking forward now, what are your plans for the next 400 episodes, and what changes do you see in the future?
Will we be recording
AI.
podcasts? And I was going to say maybe our AI take over.
Yeah, we'll just make clones of our voices and give them a topic.
Yeah, there you go. Let them run.
You could podcast with yourself at that point. We could have like 8 Zachs all at one time.
Oh my God.
Wait, is that has to exist where there's a podcast with one human and like 4 AIs and they're just chatting, right?
Probably. It has to.
Yeah. That I'm sure. It's probably like Mark Zuckerberg's personal thing, but like
that's his board
anyway.
meeting. It's just him and him and him.
Yeah, that reminds me. So I am doing like Duolingo right now. I'm just like picked up Spanish again. And there's some lessons that I have that I like go back and forth with AI, and like I speak and then it speaks and then I speak, and like I'm kind of having this like very vague conversation, and it's all AI. It's pretty cool.
It seems like a really good use of AI.
No, it is great because then you can like converse a bit without like being scared of like a real person,
Yeah.
just like an AI. Yeah.
Does it like correct you? If
It does. Yeah. It knows like if I say something wrong, I have to kind of speak a little bit slower, I think, for it to catch everything. But it's pretty cool. Like it's pretty awesome.
It's neat.
I
Yeah.
don't know that I want to get scolded in German, though. I think I'm all right if AI can just kind of let a few slide.
Yeah, I mean, the future of the podcast, I think, is just kind of like I think like more of this, like more more conversation. Like we'll just continue to cover the watch world and talk about things that are of interest to us, but also let us know what you want to hear, on the podcast. Especially if you're in our Slack community, we have a channel for suggestions from the community on a specific podcast channel. So
Yeah.
let us know what you want to hear, and we'll do our best to kind of like to make that happen.
And I think too, like the podcast has evolved so much. Like we have Time on Screen now, which is sort of a subset of Worn and Wound. Because Anne, you run that podcast. It's a movie podcast, and we've got Changing Gears, which is sort of a catch-all of everything else. That's sort of like outside of watches, travel, photography, gear, and all that kind of stuff, which is really fun. And we've had podcasts on F1, on racing too, and I'm kind of excited. We have is it Worn Out? I always forget the name.
I think it was Unwinding.
Unwinding, yeah.
It changes every episode.
We
have to we have to get back to that. Blake and I were talking about it the other day.
Yeah,
it's keeping up a cadence on those things.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough for all of us. But that's a podcast with Zach and Blake, and they kind of give you like an inside look on the industry and some behind the scenes stuff, which is really cool. But I am excited to see kind of where all of that goes as we continue on. But yeah, it's been a journey since I started, for sure.
Yeah.
Right,
what's next,
let's do a bit of a fun one here. Let's look forward a little bit. Albert actually asked us here. I think this is a game we all play with each other all the time. But you can own one watch for the rest of your life, and you have to wear it every day. What do you choose, no matter what new watch release comes out? Kat.
Yeah.
This has to be something currently in your collection, or are we just like
I don't think so. It just says you can pick
watch?
one watch for the rest of your life. Yeah, and then Brett tagged on asking you have to pick one brand for the rest of your life as well.
Brand. Okay.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is my my Tudor Black Bay. I've said before, I think I wrote in the review even that like if in some hypothetical world I ever decided like I'm out of this hobby, like I just don't want to be a watch collector anymore, and I was going to sell everything and just keep one, it would probably be that, just because it's like it's just a good watch to wear every day, and it's not like it is an enthusiast watch, but it's not like a hobbyist watch. It doesn't, it stands on its own. It doesn't need to make sense in the context of a, larger collection. So, that would probably be like my choice, just something kind of like simple and utilitarian that is, kind of work in every situation. And of the watches that I currently own, I think that one sort of like sticks out as making the most sense for me.
Yeah, similar for me. I think I would, and this is like such a basic answer, but I would just wear my Sea Dweller, my Rolex Sea Dweller. That watch is like, it's perfect to me. I love everything about it. And actually, I purposely don't wear it a lot because then it makes me not want to wear some of my other watches, because it is just like, I could just live with that watch. I love everything about it. And I think there's a lot of watches that have come and gone that have tried to achieve what the sub and sort of that watch is in a lot of ways, and there's so much that's like tactical about it. It's like the feel and the bracelet and the taper and the bezel. It's just like there's so much that's right about that watch. And I know that that's like just such a basic thing, but I truly feel like I could be very happy with that one piece. Brand wise, if I had to just stick with a brand and I had like a multiple collection of a brand, I think that's a tough one, but I would go Omega personally. For me, I think I would be happy with several watches in that brand for sure.
I think this question kind of calls out for like a basic answer, because it's sort of like
not to Zach. He's gonna be like
I'm curious what Zach.
Brigade.
Okay, well look, my mind immediately goes to like
Your logo.
functionality and like what what can I like can do a lot. So like some perpetual or something. But if I'm thinking about my own collection, I would go with my Longo one.
Yeah,
because I mean, obviously that is a special watch for me, and so it's just like a meaningful piece. But then like I did actually pick that watch with some level of like daily wear in mind. Like even though it is a high luxury watch, it's like black dial, big date, power reserve, 72. Like it's got a lot of like really practical features. It just doesn't have like an annual calendar or something in it, and it's very wearable. In terms of durability, it's not going to be the right watch, but like I wouldn't be mad looking at it every day and wearing that watch every day. In fact, it's currently in service. When I get it back, I think I'm probably just going to wear that for a very long time. If I were to pick one brand though, I'm like stuck between two in my head right now. I'm gonna go Grand Seiko.
Oh,
that's a good answer.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
I mean, you have a lot of room there to grow and different. I just all sorts of different materials and different movement types. You get a lot of variety out of them. I was honestly thinking about that or Habring, because like Habring's got like a really nice price range, and you can go from like a 3-hand to a mono pusher perpetual calendar, like kind of all within one family. And they're interesting looking. But I think Grand Seiko is probably a more practical answer.
It's interesting. You all chose watches that are they're very important to you guys. Obviously, it's part of your collection, and watches you would love to look at and play with every day. I think I would pick the Seiko Samurai just because I know I'm going to break it and I can service it myself, and I don't have to wait 8 months for Longa to send the watch back. It's just, if it's my one watch and I can't,
if it's your one watch,
all right. But yeah, like you can't put anything else on. I think I want something that at that point I'm probably not the biggest enthusiast anymore, and so I can go with something a bit simpler and pull out the toolkit and put a new movement in if I really need to.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of sort of a similar philosophy, I think, to how I approach this. Is just something that's like, just like purely straightforward, and you're not really an enthusiast with just one watch. You just have to have something that you like, kind of like looking at every day, and that will be reliable. And it would be weird if like I just had like my Archanaut Fordite dial and just wore that. Like if that like as a one watch forever, that's to me strange. But even though I love that watch, but it's strange regardless, even for a day. It's a little strange. All right, that's a fun question, Devin. What's next on the list?
Jared asked us, what is the next frontier in watch design? Shock resistance, magnetism, or the global banning of date magnifiers?
Oh wow! Shots
What's
fired.
The beef against Cyclops. Jeez.
Yeah, I like a Cyclops. Make the whole crystal a Cyclops. Just a Corum style.
Magnify the whole thing.
Yeah.
Bubble.
So I'll shout out Kate Bazemore's recent article on Biwi. She has a little passage in there from her conversation with Jean-Claude Biver, who talks about materials being the next kind of like frontier in watch design and innovation. So I think that's an interesting idea, that like it's not necessarily chronometry. We've kind of like gone pretty far in terms of chronometry. There's every sort of like aesthetic design under the sun, but there are like kind of like new materials being fabricated all the time that could potentially be innovative in watchmaking and watch design. So that's where my mind immediately goes, is like new like synthetic materials for cases, dials, movements, even could kind of like be a game changer in some respects, in ways that we can't even really perceive yet. So
yeah, I don't know. I would say a continuation of maybe like a high accuracy quartz, or this just focus on accuracy still, because I think there's still so many people that are wearing Apple Watches or wearing G-Shocks and just like are used to something that's atomically correct, right, all the time, and they maybe don't want to jump into a mechanical watch just yet, or doesn't make sense. And I feel like I feel like for a lot of people, they would be fine with something that like a Citizen Eco Drive, right? I think that's still like a very popular piece for a lot of people because it's like no fuss, you don't have to worry about it. The technology is like 50 years old at this point, but I still think is like really important to the industry, and like we see a lot of other brands kind of taking note. So yeah, I think just maybe just in general accuracy is still going to be like kind of pushed as much as it possibly can with different technology.
Interesting. These are both really good answers that I can't now not use. So to go a different direction, I'll say like not like a dissolving, but a continual move away from luxury group brands to independent watchmaking.
That's a good one.
Based on not just, the obvious rise in the amount of brands we've seen currently, but really the amount of like the accessibility of manufacturing. And I'd say maybe a consumer base for them has really just changed things. So we see movements and complications, we talked about that a lot, but, so like, I think the brands are just competing on a level that no one expected them to. And it really just puts the question, really, why necessarily go for a large group brand, but there's a million reasons to, of course. It's just like, it's the reason why people, whatever, drink Budweiser over their local microbrewery or something. It's just like, there's safety in numbers, and there's sort of a guaranteed maybe safety net on watches from larger luxury groups and things like that in terms of servicing. But I don't know, for me at least, it's just the design and the passion and everything that is coming from independent watches just so greatly outweighs them. And I feel like that feels like a tenor of social media and everything. You see just more and more people getting into the independent watch scene, whether it's micro brands or, Rexepi types,
Yeah, no, that stuff feels like it's getting less niche every single day almost, which I think is a good thing for the industry. People are curious about, smaller makers and kind of like alternatives to like the giant kind of like household names in the watch world. I think that's only a good thing for the community. And those huge brands are not in any danger of going anywhere. It's not like it's not like IWC is going to go out of business because some small brand makes like an interesting pilot's watch or something. It's just like more options and more choice for people, which I think is fundamentally a good thing. Devin, how about you? Do you have any thoughts on?
No, I mean, honestly, Zach, you kind of stole mine. I think material is really the thing that hit me in the head. Yeah, it's more of the same, I guess. The big thing that stood out to me when we went to British Watchmakers Day was Appier doing the 3D printed materials and kind of pushing that. And so like maybe there's some innovation in construction that's very interesting. But I think, material science is just advancing faster than ever. And we're going to see more colors and more new materials and more just construction archetypes that we haven't seen before. But it's interesting you bring up the kind of like the rise of the independence of micro brands, because Jared did follow that up with a question asking if the market is too saturated for micro brands right now.
Interesting.
I don't know. I think you'd have to ask a micro brand that's trying to sell their watches, but like, I don't necessarily think so, because competition, I think, is like healthy ultimately. It's just the reality that brands will succeed and others will fail. And if they fail, that's something they need to ask themselves as to why, whether it was because of marketing or because of design or, a million other reasons. It feels like there's more and more people getting into the hobby every day. And it feels like also the hobby is like, as we can all attest, something that you buy a lot of. It's no longer a 1 or 2 piece collection. It's a 20 piece collection, or a collection that's constantly in revolution. So I feel like there's sort of always room for a brand if they have a compelling argument to make as for why their watches exist,
Yeah. I think also brands need to figure out like what success means to them. Like not every small brand is going to be, like a brew, for example, and kind of be like a juggernaut sort of brand that, but like grows and grows, exponentially, and becomes sort of like the face of an entire genre. Like there's room for other brands for many brands to kind of exist at a smaller level, with varying opportunities for growth, I think. So,
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing thing to consider as well. But yeah, I don't think that the market is saturated with micro brands. I think I just completely agree with what Zach said about competition being healthy, and brands that are doing things well will hopefully succeed. Brands that won't will not, and hopefully if like the good ideas continue to kind of like get a chance to succeed at the very least. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't feel like it's saturated either. I wish that when I was getting into watches, there were as many options as there is now. And it's kind of a really great time to get into the watch, community or collecting, or enthusiast, whatever you want to call it, because there's so many things, and you can really find something, especially in the micro brand space, that I think speaks to you. It's easy to look at the success of, I think, some of these brands like a Brew, but like when I first got into watches, like Brew wasn't the Brew it is today, and
Right.
he wasn't as popular, right? And had watches that were very strange and weird. And I think just over time has really like tinkered with his brand, and like it took. I mean, he's been around for like 10 years too, right? Or something, or close to that, maybe more than that.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's not an overnight success. It can be for some brands, and they have this kind of cult following that kind of comes out of nowhere sometimes. But that's really hard and really difficult. And I think you have to look at sometimes the struggle that some of these brands have had over the years. It's definitely not easy. I think we're seeing, brands pop up here and there, but we also see a lot go away too, that kind of like fade out because they can't keep up with whatever the demand or the community as a whole, just like making
Or they
sure
just don't offer something new.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
same old over and over again. And I think people are really itching for things that are outside the box, and that's hard to do in the microbrand space right now. So
Yeah, I mean, like I think all of us are probably have inboxes that are just littered with pitches from brands that are just kind of offering like the same thing that that has kind of been like powering the sector for years and not offering anything new, and like
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff like doesn't make it to the website ultimately because
Yeah.
we try to focus on things that are unique and like and bring a fresh perspective.
yeah.
To
The days
watch.
of coming out with a Submariner homage or a Black Bay like alternate, like it just doesn't work anymore. You have
Yep.
to do something more than that.
Yeah, those got replaced by integrated bracelet watches. That's what my junk box looks like now. It's just
Yes.
like, yep, I get it. And you
Yeah.
look kind of like an AP, but kind of not.
Yeah.
Or
Also,
I
lots of
was-
like colorful textured dials. Like that's another
Yeah.
thing. Like, I mean, every
Yeah.
brand has like, their take on, I guess it's like maybe like the Oyster Perpetual effect, maybe, or the Grand Seiko effect of just like,
I feel like
Yeah.
Grand Seiko.
Grand
Grand
Seiko
Seiko
really
with the
kicked that off,
texture.
I think. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
Just to piggyback on something Kat said, but like, I would love to experience what it would be like to suddenly be like, oh, whatever, you're 22 again, and I have a little extra money, and I'm like, oh, I like watch. I saw a watch. Like, what is this thing? And then to like peek your head into it now, and pat on their back, but like to walk into Wind Up, not necessarily knowing what you're getting yourself into. Like,
yeah.
it must be, I mean, exciting, but also
Overwhelming.
very overwhelming.
Yeah.
yeah.
And like, the only like thing I can sort of say it's similar is I recently, and this is so like I needed another honestly, this is like how to not buy watches. It's just to find, it's like the methadone or something for watch collectors. So like I recently have gotten down a little bit down like the keyboard rabbit hole, because they're like,
Oh yeah.
for like a couple $100 you can have like a kit and have fun over the weekend. And this is not something I intentionally did at all. I accidentally I just bought a keyboard that I turned out to be like one of these like mechanical keyboards that people got into. Lo and behold, I can spend all weekend looking at different brands, reading about different designers, looking at historical, it's crazy. And it's like, but I'm like, holy shit, like this is fun. This is a lot of fun because there's
Yeah.
so much to discover again. I mean, sure, at the end of it, I end up spending money, but like,
Yeah.
once again, not as much money as I do on watches. So it's better.
On the opposite end of that spectrum, I just bought a vintage car. So, talk about not spending money. It's it's for fun, and spent a lot of hours over the weekend just researching and learning about something new that I don't know about, and it is fun. But I do it is something to kind of join the watch community at a time where you. Right now, like there's so many watches, like and I can't imagine. Yeah, walking into Wind Up has to be especially like New York, like that's kind of scary. There's just so much. There's so much to
It's not
take
scary.
in.
It's very welcoming. Everyone should come.
No, yeah, obviously,
Free and
no,
open
it's
to the
great. It's a
public.
great time, and if you see any of us at the fair, we'll happy to give you a tour of the show. But it is it's scary but fun, you know. And
It's
cool
overwhelming. It's just
Yeah.
like sensory overload. Like
what do I buy?
satisfying
What do
way.
I? Yeah, that's just. I mean, it would be really something, because the first wind up I went to was, I mean, not even in the early days, Chelsea Market, and that was a pretty small show, and you could make your round in like half an hour. Like that's it. I could see the whole floor, and now it's pretty amazing to see how far we've come and how many brands are there. But yeah, it would come prepared to find something cool, because you can definitely do that, and there's something for everyone literally at the fair.
Let's pull on that thread a little bit, because Sean does want to know what advice we have for someone just starting out in watches. I mean, very similar topic, but it is a daunting thing when you're just getting into it and you see the huge amount of brands out there and you see these giant fairs. What would you tell 22-year-old Zach with a little bit of money in his pocket?
Well, I would say, like, first just buy the thing that you think you like. You know what I mean? Like, you don't
That
need
you
to
think
go down
you like. That it's. I mean.
Yeah. No, you
don't know
like,
yet.
you kind of know. You kind of don't know. So, like, whatever it is, pick a random, you know, a recent Seiko 5 model or something that's just, you know, attractive and cool. And, you know, maybe you saw it, you liked it, so the price is right. Like, I don't think you want to go down the rabbit hole too early before sort of just like getting a base coat of like appreciation for things, right? Like, because I do think it can be daunting, and I think you could probably get in your own head, and, you know, if you're like me, you start weighing specs against each other and stuff like that, and so you'll be like, oh, well, for $300, maybe I should get that because it's got this thing and that thing, you know, like, do I need the bracelet when I could get, you know, a better you know, just get the thing you think you like, you know what I mean, and then go from there, see if you like it, you know.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. I think, I mean, I would say, like, read Worn and Wound and other websites.
Very good.
Listen to our
just
podcast.
Kind of like, dive into the enthusiast world, and just kind of like, you know, try to become as knowledgeable as possible. You know, and you don't have to, you know, like, to Zach's point, like, maybe don't buy everything all at once. Just kind of like focus on experiencing things that you find interesting and learning. And, you know, there's a lot of ways to do that. You can read articles, you can watch YouTube videos, and, you know, you can talk to people on Instagram. And, I think that, like, kind of, you know, just exposing yourself to stuff, you know, and you know, particularly people, like, you know, other collectors, is something that will help kind of guide you as you sort of like develop your taste. Because, like, when you start out, like, you don't have taste yet, you know, you're kind of, you know, you're figuring things out. You have to kind of accept that you're gonna, like, you know, make mistakes, and that, like, the first watch that you buy, even like maybe the first nice watch that you buy, is not necessarily going to be, you know, a quote unquote keeper, you know, as you kind of, like, you know, go down the path. And I think just being, like, open minded and flexible was a big part of starting out. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, I agree. I think, like, try not to listen to the masses. I think that's something that got lost on me early on too, and I fell for it, and maybe shunned away from certain brands because it wasn't popular, and just try not to fall for that trap, and to listen to your own gut. And I think I admire my brother a lot. He's gotten into watches in the last like 3 or 4 years, and he truly loves like the weird stuff, and doesn't really care about brand. Like, he just likes the aesthetics of a watch for what it is, and could care less about the brand that's on the dial. And I sometimes wish I was more like that. And I admit that I get swayed sometimes by branding, just because maybe I'm in the industry, and we have some, you know, maybe inside things that happen that other people, you know, maybe are not, I don't know, exposed to. But I think, like, just go with your gut. If you like a watch, buy it, you know, and you don't have to own a Speedmaster, and you don't have to own a Submariner, and you don't have to follow these guides that you see everywhere, including on Worn and Wound sometimes. Like, you like what you like, and you know, just follow your own style. I have a lot of respect for people that do that.
Yeah, likewise. How about you, Devin? Do you have any thoughts on this topic of
two big ones? Number one, I mean, yeah, take everything with a grain of salt. Everyone has their own ulterior motives. Whether you're making video content or writing an article, we all have our own personal preferences. We all have motivations behind that piece of content. Some are genuine, some are a bit nefarious. So just take that all with a grain of salt and don't build your entire collecting personality based off of a YouTube personality. Develop your own style. And then please, for the love of God, don't go into debt to buy a watch.
Yeah,
I know a lot of young people who put their first watch, they went out and they bought, like an Aquaterra or something like that on a credit card.
Oh my gosh.
And and they're like, yeah, I'm a serious watch guy. I have an Aquaterra now. And I'm like, okay, but you're also paying 25% on whatever you just
ouch?
purchased.
Yeah,
Don't
like,
do that.
please don't do that. Well, when you're young, the interest rates are also hugely against you. Please don't do that. Use the cash in your pocket, buy something used, and beat it up.
Remember, there's like a whole trend now with like memes based around Affirm purchases. So I guess they've gotten really out of hand in the world, and people are buying like really basic things with Affirm that you shouldn't be really having to put yourself into debt into. But yes, that is a very sensible and good tip.
Yeah.
Like debt is terrible. So don't put yourself, as someone who has crawled their way out of debt once, like it is terrible to be in. Yeah.
It's predatory. It's too easy to get that Affirm pre-approval. So don't do that.
Yeah. I'm glad that wasn't around like at the early days of this, because I probably would have bought something stupid.
Yeah. Easy payments for the next 100 years.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. What's next, Evan?
Meg, one of our contributing writers, asked us if we could match a watch to the spirit and vibes of your favorite national park. What do you think that would be?
Ooh, my favorite
national
I know
park.
That's such a hard
I
question.
don't know if I have a favorite. Do I have a favorite?
I'm from New York City. I don't know. What are these parks you speak?
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, that's what's the what's the summer Grand Seiko, the Four Seasons, the summer that was like green and gold. Kazan, I think you owned it at one point.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
was
sure.
green
Yeah.
with the gold accents.
Yeah.
I don't remember the reference number, but it's part of this seasons collection. It's the summer one.
Yes.
I feel like that. Like, I don't know if this is my favorite. I haven't visited, unfortunately, like all of the national parks yet to have a favorite, but I do really like Sierra National Park in California. And I feel like I just remember the big trees and sort of this brown and green. I just feel like that watch is probably like a really cool, like synonymous with that. Yeah, with that environment, I think. First thing that kind of came to mind when I was thinking about that park. So,
yeah. So I don't know that I have a favorite national park. I've been to, a handful of national parks, but I'm certainly not like the most like national park experienced person. So it's a cliche, but I love the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon
that's great. It's a great option. Yeah.
It's more than just a giant hole. It's really it's quite beautiful. Acadia National Park in Maine is, I think, the closest geographically to me. I've experienced. I've been there a few times. So like, to me, the thing that like that comes to mind immediately is just like a simple, like kind of durable watch, like a I don't know, like a Hamilton, khaki field mechanical or something like that. Like that feels like an appropriate watch, for a national, like to like cover the vibe of a national park. Like you're exploring, it's reliable. It's like, it's not going to like take your focus off the natural beauty that you're hopefully experiencing. So like nothing too like, flashy or like something that's out of the way. Like if the watch shouldn't be the focus, if you're if you're trying to like make the most of your national park experience, I think. So that's sort of like the direction I would go. Something like unobtrusive and straightforward.
Yeah, a field watch is a good pick. I actually thought about this. I've spent a lot of time in national parks backpacking, and so for me, the watch is pretty crucial. I took the stainless steel Navigator to Shenandoah for Marathon, and it was great to have, just for the simple fact of having the tritium loom at night and like getting up and getting out of your tent and packing up and stuff like that, just trying to make sure you're on time. And then having that just on a NATO strap because my wrist is swelling and sweaty and I'm falling in rivers and covered in bog stink and all of that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a good solid field watch with some good loom is always a good pick when you're out there trudging through the backwoods.
For sure. Yeah, marathon's great. Like my marathon is definitely like once I kick up camping again, that's going to be my go-to watch, my Navigator. Just cuz like the tritium is so awesome at night. Like it's so bright. You can easily see it. And it's just a very, very durable watch to have. I feel like that would be a good one for like my white dial might be cool for like Rocky Mountain National Park or something.
That would be great.
Good combo there.
Yeah. Well, bring some extra NATOs too, because that's the best thing about the field watch is when it gets covered in bog stink, you can just put a new NATO on.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
Zach, any thoughts?
I'm not too
here?
familiar. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to. I've been to the Grand Canyon. I'm not like an avid camper type person, but I do go to a park very, very regularly. It's not a national park, but I go to Prospect Park. It's like a couple blocks from me, and it is on my route to the office. So I spend a lot of time there. Plus, on the weekends, it's just like a great place to go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like a hiking park. It's like whatever. But I'll go with the Black Bay 54 because it's like functional. If you need to jump in, if you get pushed into the pond or something for some reason, end
come
up
out with
there,
6 toes.
you're fine. But it's also, it's got some golden accents on it. It's still New York. It's still got some style to it. You know what I mean? So it's an all rounder.
City parks matter too. They're important in a large city to get having a green space. It's like a fascinating.
It's so amazing to have. Like it keeps me sane. I really think. I mean, we don't have like an outdoor. I don't have like a terrace or anything like that. So it's like our apartment's just inside, and then we actually have a place to walk. I actually have 2. I'm sandwiched somewhere in the neighborhood I'm in. I'm between Prospect Park and Greenwood Cemetery, which if you are planning on visiting New York and you want to do something kind of interesting, I recommend Greenwood Cemetery because it's probably like one of the most beautiful parks in New York City, but it's a cemetery, but like hardly anyone goes there because it's also a cemetery, but like it has some historic some graves there, Jean-Michel Basquiat and several others. And it's just really, really beautiful. Really, really beautiful.
Cool. Yeah.
Good one. Devin, I think we've got time for maybe like 2, maybe 3 questions. If you have a few more.
Yeah, let's hit a fun one here. You can disappear any one thing off the face of the earth. What would it be? And the example that he gave was mosquitoes.
So
it doesn't have to be
anything.
Watch.
No, not watch related.
Not a watch question. Okay.
We said ask us anything, and we left it open to the entire public to just give us whatever they wanted.
100% cicadas. We have them so bad here, and they're the grossest things ever.
They are pretty gross, and they're cicadas. Big. And loud. Yeah. They're so loud.
They like land on you and like thump on you, like literally. Yeah. And it's just, they get all over your car and the guts are disgusting. Like they're nasty.
They're fascinating
I would
creatures.
get rid of the cicadas.
Yeah. They sleep for decades and then come back.
Yeah. They're like vampires.
Really. I would disappear. I don't know if this counts, but it's something that bothers me that I want to get rid of. I can't stand the way when you're watching a movie on a streaming service, when the credits start, it gives you that like that automated next like
play
with a countdown thing.
Yeah.
The credits are part of a movie.
Yeah.
Like let me finish the movie and I'll decide on my own what I want to watch next. It's so distracting. Just takes you right out of right out of your experience. So I would disappear that functionality from Netflix, Prime, Max, all the streaming services. Just let me finish the movie.
It's especially annoying on shows because sometimes like there are things playing on a show and it skips to the next episode. Like it doesn't even give time to finish. Like sometimes there's like little bits at the credit and like you miss them because
it's got to be like frustrating for the filmmaker, I would think, to like know that their piece of art is being
credits or
like cut off at the in the last like 5 minutes and like you're
didn't that happen with some show recently? Like within the last year, that like there was something kind of essential in the credits, or maybe it was like it was or an advertisement for a podcast or something, and like the show would then jump over, so nobody was seeing that. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was some like actual thing that was going on where it's like the channel was upset the show wasn't doing better, but they were also kicking you out of the thing. Like,
Wow.
yeah, real stupid. That's a good one, Zach. So I mean, there's plenty of things. One thing in particular, but I don't know. Let's see. I'll go with celebrity ambassadors.
Ooh,
Get rid of them.
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, hot take there.
Hot take,
Still don't care what pop star wears your damn watch. Let's move on, people.
Or anything really. Like I've
Yeah.
never I don't think I've ever bought anything. Like I don't buy makeup because I don't know, Scarlett Johansson wears this makeup, or like, never bought a perfume because so and so has a commercial.
That's
It's like-
particularly actually funny, perfume, because it's like I can't smell you
Yeah.
through this. So like, you look real pretty wearing a thing that we have no idea what it smells like.
The perfume and cologne commercials are so unhinged too. They're like
Oh, yeah.
just out there completely. The best one is like the Johnny Depp, like what is it, Sauvage or something. He's like out in the desert with wolves, and it's just they're always really funny because they just make no sense. But
I think it used to be like a thing like the Calvin Klein ones,
Yeah.
right? Like back in the like I don't know why, but I picture the Chris Isaac Wicked Game music
Yeah.
video
Yes.
that
Oh,
was like
yeah.
shot like a Calvin Klein perfume.
yeah,
That's
so
so great.
good. Yeah.
I'll give you a very real one. Crocs. Not
Crocs.
the animal. The
Yes.
terrible footwear choice.
Yes.
I hate them with a passion, and I
So
see
do I.
so many people walking around in them all the time. Get your widgets out of here. Stop putting them in sport mode. Just get rid of your Crocs and put
Sport
real
mode.
tennis shoes on, please.
I've never owned a Croc. I'm not a Croc guy, but I was intrigued by the G-Shock
Sure.
Crocs recently. I don't think I'm ultimately going to go for those. They're probably sold out and trading way over retail price, but I don't particularly enjoy seeing Crocs out in the wild either. They're gardening shoes, right? Like that was their original intent, was to be like used like in
or
the gardens.
doctors like in the hospital, like they like clogs, and I mean I've seen a lot of Crocs in my day working in a hospital.
They were big in kitchens, right? Like
Yeah.
Sure.
for a while. What was that? Some canceled chef. He always wore orange.
In,
Crocs.
in,
it's
in,
like
in
Mario
an
Batali,
environment,
yeah.
in an environment
Yeah.
that you need to like switch shoes very easily, which is like kind of a slip on. It was easy to wash, and now they're just like,
Yeah.
people just wear. them.
Like every other person in New York City wears Crocs.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. I mean, now that Yeezys are kind of over, thankfully, those were also absolutely horrible
Yeah.
before controversy. Those were some of the
Yeah.
ugliest things ever made.
Yeah.
But now it's just Crocs. Also summer, get a little air. But you see Crocs and socks.
Yeah. Or like the fur-lined Crocs. There are fur-lined Crocs out there. They're horrible.
Yeah.
Not
good.
appealing. Yeah, that's a good,
Good
one.
one.
I like
I like that.
the idea of just disappearing things that annoy us. If only that's how life works. It's
Snap of a finger, very Avengers. Yeah.
all right, Devin. Do you have one great question to close things out and tie it all together?
No, I have like 10 more great questions that
gosh.
we're not going to have time to get to. So,
Let's get to
Another
episode plus.
Q&A,
We'll do
potentially.
another one of these.
yeah.
Episode 500.
Yeah, just 100 more episodes. It's not bad.
This is kind of a tricky one, and honestly one we probably should have done research on. But Dr. Robert asked us, what is the best display case back movement watch below 10K?
Oof. I don't know. That's going to be a hard one for me.
So like best. So you're kind of suggesting what is the prettiest movement?
I guess so. For me, I guess my mind went to interesting. So like I started thinking of chronographs with display case backs because
Yeah,
that way you can actually
Speedmaster,
see
right?
it.
Like that comes
Right.
in under 10. Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be my go-to. I love looking at my Speedmaster movement.
Yeah,
But you
it's a
got to
ton
go
of fun.
Sapphire to get that if you're a purist, and
Right.
Maybe it's a hot take. I think I prefer at this stage of my life. I think I prefer the Sapphire Speedmaster over
Yeah, I do too.
over the Hesalite. I don't know if that makes me. I don't know what that makes me, but I think I like it.
It's a
I think I
shame
just
not
like
to
it
see
more.
that movement. It's honestly, it's a shame not to look at it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, the acrylic just feels like cosplay to me. Like you're not an astronaut, So just go with the Sapphire. It's cool. I'm trying to think like if there's like a really, there has to be this would be a good one for research, but like there has to be like an interesting looking, aesthetically pleasing movement that's like, you know, under 10K. That's
How much is
That's like,
your Habring, Zach? Is that over 10K? Because that's
no, that's
really,
under 10K.
That's
like
great. That's really cool.
yeah, it's a good one.
Habrings start around 6-ish, maybe
Okay.
a little bit more for time only, and they all have their own movements in them. It is a cool looking movement. Certainly, it's like kind of strange looking. It has like a circle, like a plate within it, kind of.
Yeah. But you can pick up a spring drive, like a Grand Seiko spring drive, maybe for.
Yeah, like an Omawatari.
Yeah.
I think those are beautiful movements, certainly.
Yeah.
Too, and those are like 8-ish. I was trying to see what like the current entry for. Yeah, so an entry Garrick now is no. So the solid case back. They used to have some models that were a little less, but they're currently now it's 9,500 pounds. But you know they fully hand finish everything.
Well, maybe if the dollar comes back, we can start picking those up for under 10K. Nomos does a lot of very nice finishing for like the much lower than 10K price point of things. That was one of my favorite things about owning the Club Sport Neomatic, was staring at that movement every once in a while.
Yeah, Nomos movements are nice looking. That's a good that's a good answer. It's tricky because like so many movements under that price point are, you know, like you just like off the shelf movements, which there's of course nothing wrong with that. But they don't necessarily you know, you don't necessarily admire them for their like aesthetic beauty.
Sure.
So yeah, no, I have a Nomos with a display case back that's very nice. Is there like a good micro? I mean, there's plenty of micro rotor movements.
The new Christopher Ward Loco.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's a fun one to stare at.
That's a good one.
Yeah. There's actually various. I mean, the Loco, but also the 12. What was it called? The X12.
The 12X.
Yep.
Yeah.
The finishing on it.
That's the answer.
The thing. There's like clearly things that we're just like forgetting about because they're just not top of mind at the moment. But yeah, there's definitely. Yeah.
I think we came to the right response on that in real time.
Yeah. That was cool. That was groupthink right there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, that's about an hour's worth of questions, guys. I think that that's a pretty good episode 400. Thank you to everyone who contributed questions for this episode and who has been listening along for whether it's all 400 episodes. God help you, that's a lot of podcasting, or whether you jumped in at some point later. We really do appreciate you listening. We have a lot more planned, obviously, for the podcast going forward, to get you right up to that 500 podcast marker. What are we going to do for 500? We had to think of something pretty spectacular. It's only a couple years away on this current schedule. So anyway, if you have ideas out there for episode 500, never too early to make your requests. Until next time, we'll see you soon on the One Around podcast. Take care.